All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bootcamp Blueprint podcast, the place where personal trainers go to grow their bootcamp and social media. Today, I am super excited. I've got the one and only Josh Mullin. Now, I'm excited for a couple of different reasons. Number one, Josh is an absolute leader in the field. He's qualified over 500 personal trainers over the last couple of years. Secondly, he's the host of a Facebook group, UK PTs. Last time I checked, I think there was about 8,000 personal trainers in there. And he's also the host of a website, the PT Toolbox, which has all sorts of educational tips for PT. So the man knows a thing or two about the fitness industry. So Josh, thank you for spending your time with us.
No worries, man. Glad to be here. How's it all going on your end, all right?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Josh, I like to start these podcasts with a quote or mantra that fires you up. So, have you got one for us?
I have. So it's from Jocko Willink, who's an ex-Navy SEAL, like motivational speaker, that sort of stuff. And it's, you must own everything in your world. There is no one else to blame. And that gets me for a couple of reasons. And the biggest one is for personal trainers especially, is there's a lot of excuses why they can't be successful. And for me, taking ownership of everything that you do is the key to success, really. So, yeah, I love that one.
I love it 200%. A funny little story, actually. Have you heard, have you seen the video clip The Line, playing above the line and below the line? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Funny. Yeah. I just did a live video. I just did a podcast on that like the other day. So I agree like 500% with you. So I love that. Anyway, Josh, what I was hoping to do today was actually play a bit of a game for our audience. Now, you've been in the industry a long time. You've dealt with a lot of personal trainers. You've helped them grow their business. So what I was hoping to do is play a bit of a game, and I'll give you a scenario of a PT at a different stage in their, career. And if you can rattle off a couple common mistakes, you see those PTs make it at that stage, and then a couple of your, expert solutions. How does that sound?
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, probably the first one, Josh, is a PT studying. So a lot of our listeners are currently studying their certs. What are some of the common mistakes you see from some of your students who are studying? So while they're studying, let's just start with the mistakes. We won't do the solutions yet. Let's start. What are some of the mistakes you see?
So number one, I think, is being a bit too dogmatic with their approach. So they have beliefs of their own that they're not willing to kind of have challenged, that they're not willing to accept a different point of view. So I see that a lot, both from an educational perspective, but also just their own training beliefs. So I have students in at the moment, so they do their intensive personal training course with us, and when we teach nutrition, for example, we'll throw out something in there about supplements not being necessary, and they say, oh, but I take X, Y, and Z, so it must it works for me, so it must be true. And even when they're shown the evidence, they're not really cooperating with us or convinced.
Yeah.
So that's probably is not allowing having an open mind, that sort of stuff. And then number two is sort of a reluctance to learn from different sources. So they'll maybe have one or two people they go to on YouTube or whatever, maybe not the most reliable of sources. And then we'll throw some things out there and we'll say, look, you should read this book. And they're like, oh, I don't want to read, I want to watch YouTube. So that's the other thing, actually. Number three would be just keep learning, keep reading. And that to me is probably the biggest one is reading, because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
If you've got no money, go to a library, digest all that information. We've got a bookshelf at the back with probably 25 books on that we'll say, look, take those in your lunch break, read every day, but not many people do.
All right, cool. That makes sense. So let's summarize sort of that. The common mistakes we see, if we had to summarize that, we'd probably say, number one, that PTs, when they're studying, they think they know it already, maybe, right? They think they've followed some celebrity on YouTube, or maybe they've got some good results on their own, and they think, okay, cool, that's the only way to do it. I'm just going to breeze through my certificates and just copy exactly what this person does and be hugely successful. And then on the back end of that as well is it's almost, I'm not going to say easy to be successful, but it's a simple formula, right? There's all this knowledge, there's all this info out there. spend an hour a day, reading some of that and you'll be successful. But a lot of people don't want to do that. So let's then flip that over, Josh. If you could maybe give 3 tips, let's say someone's studying now, what are 3 tips you could give that person, which will maybe help them in their certification, but even afterwards. So when they finish that certification, they can hit the ground running.
So number 1 would probably be stay consistent with your learning. So dedicating, let's say 30 to 60 minutes a day to read, to watch videos, to, just get knowledge from somewhere reputable. And that to me is a massive one. So I struggle a bit at the moment because we're doing a lot with work and everything. And I run 2 businesses and, time is an issue. So I try and block out my time for reading. It doesn't always happen, but I try to stay consistent. Number 2, again, has got to be that reputable source of information. And then I think number 3 would probably be network ferociously, because there's so many personal trainers out there that are willing to help you as long as you ask. And I think with things like UK PTs, there's another one I think called Personal Trainers Unite. There's so many of these groups where there's personal trainers that are, even if they're just 2 steps ahead of you, you can learn from anyone, So I think they'd be my 3. Be consistent with your learning. And then number 2 is make sure your sources are reputable. And then number 3 is just network with other personal trainers that have been in your position. So they'd be my top 3, definitely.
Love it so much. I love your philosophies, Josh, because they're pretty much what I use still today, right? The first thing I do every morning is read a chapter of a book. Same thing before I go to bed there. So I'm a huge fan of reading. I love that reputable source as well, because I think in today's society, and I think especially for PTs, it's very easy to get caught up in the hoo-ha, right? Like some guy at the gym tells you this is the only way to lose weight, so you listen to that guy. But who's that guy? Yeah. Right? Where did he get it from? So I've sort of got a bit of a rule. I only, listen to someone or learn from someone if they've been there or done it themselves, right? Yeah. So let's say, you've obviously been a successful trainer. I'm going to listen to what Josh says because he's done it before. I'm not going to listen to a family friend at the family barbecue who's going to tell me how to run my business when they've never run a business before, right? And then third point, networking, 100%. There's that old quote, right? Your net worth is your network. And I think there's so many different ways around it. I think 100% in terms of just hanging out with those PTs a couple steps ahead of you, you're going to learn, what's coming up in the game and that sort of thing. I think also like a client sort of thing as well. Like I think there's, I'm not a big fan of luck, but I'm going to say there's a little bit of an element of luck in being successful, even in just terms of who you know, right? Like the more people you know, the more people that can potentially train with you, right? So if we can manipulate that, you could sit back and be like, oh, okay, that person's lucky. They've just got so many Facebook friends, so that's why they've got clients. Or you could just go out and meet people and get that many Facebook friends and then do the same thing, right?
It's funny how the people that seem to be the luckiest are also the people that work the hardest, but people don't really see that correlation,
Exactly. They see the tip of the iceberg, But awesome. Yeah. All right. Great tips, Josh. I love them. Let's go then the next level. Let's say someone's finished their certifications and they've just started in the industry. There could be a few different ways here, right? Maybe they've started at a gym and they don't have any clients, or maybe they don't even have a job, or maybe they want to do mobile PT and they're not having much clients there. That sort of situation there where they've finished, they've maybe got their toes in the water, but they're not successful. What are the common errors that you see people do? And then let's go to Josh's tips to overcome those errors.
So again, number 1, this is kind of a recurring theme, is consistency. So when I first started my personal training business back in 2007, I would read online about, new marketing tactics and these new ways of getting clients. And I would stick with them for about maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks at max. And I'd go, oh, they're not working. Why aren't they working? And then if I'd have stuck with 1 or 2 tactics with consistency, a consistent approach to my business, I probably would have seen better results, but I wasn't giving the tactics enough time to kind of, come to fruition. They just, I had a boot camp at the time and I had about 20 or 30 people come into my sessions. And then I would say, oh, I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to do the human billboard where they advertise for me and everything. Then about 2 weeks later, I go, it's not working. So number one would be consistency again. So I think consistency throughout the business is the big one. And then another one that from personal experience is prioritize what you need to do and then execute it, because there are so many personal trainers that are reading. Obviously I love reading and I think it's a really good way to learn, but you could spend all your time reading and not enough time executing the actual advice that you've been given. So I think action, execution, whatever you want to call it, really needs to be a big part of it, because I have personal trainers that I know that have been studying for 5-6 years, but they don't put anything into practice, and that's where they struggle, because they've got all this knowledge and they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then probably again, I think number 3 would probably be don't limit yourself with certain options. So for example, a lot of my guys will come to us and they think that one-to-one personal training is the only option. They see a personal trainer, one-to-one, that's what they think of. But obviously you've got, for example, you've got boot camps or small group training, you've got group fitness, you've got one-to-one training, you've got online, you've got ebooks, you've got products, you've got online, I've said online, you've got nutrition plans, you've got all this stuff available to you, and you're only really limited by your creativity. And I think a lot of that comes down to not knowing the business side of it. They don't understand about diversifying their income. As an example, if the model's not working for you, change the model. Basically, that's one of the biggest takeaways that I learned from a lot of my business coaches, years ago. So yeah, that'd be my big 3. Be execute. Don't just learn the theoretical side of it. Go out and use it. Be consistent with your marketing approaches and take the time to let your business build. You don't want to be a 6-figure trainer in 6 days, because it's not going to happen.
Love it.
Number 3. Go on.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I love all 3 of those points then. Once again, I agree like 500%. Like, I think consistency is the key, right? Like, even now, still today, there's a couple things that I do. Like, I'm a big fan of email marketing, right? I send out an email every day, right? And I also do a lot of sales calls as well. I spend a couple hours of sales calls every day. And now it's quite successful, but the only reason it's been successful is because I've just done it every single day for years. So even now, like a client might come through, hey, Jono, look, I spoke to you on the phone like a year ago and I loved your product and now I'm finally ready to go, right? So you never sort of know when it's gonna pay off there. And I'm a huge fan of action myself. I'm almost too big of a fan, it almost, I'm not going to say get me in trouble, because I'm not a fan of mistakes, right? I don't really believe in mistakes. I believe in learning, right? If something doesn't work for me, it wasn't a mistake as long as I learned something from it, right? There's this quote, I don't know if you've seen it, I never lose, I either win or I learn. So, and I find like, there's so much people out there that are so smart, and in any industry, right? Not even just personal training. They are so smart and they could be so successful and they know everything, but they don't do what they know. And then they're not successful, right? And then there's other people that, are nowhere near as smart or as educated or knowledgeable, but they learn one thing, they implement that one thing straight away and they become successful. So I love that whole philosophy of, learn something. You obviously need to learn that one thing, but that thing is worth absolutely nothing unless you action it, right?
Yeah.
So I agree,
Exactly.
200%. And you're spot on as well. Like, same sort of thing here in Australia. It's, the one-on-one PT thing is the popular thing. Everyone sort of thinks, oh yeah, I'll get into training and, I'll do one-on-one PT and that's the only way to do it. And, there's so many different ways out there. And I was sort of lucky. I sort of I got some mentors early on that were doing some different stuff, doing some online stuff, doing some different bootcamp stuff, doing some, all this different stuff. And I was sort of lucky in that I was exposed to that early on. So it opened my mind there. And that's been a huge part for me. So I love that as well, how there's not just one size fits all, right? But let's move on from there, Josh. Now let's say the next level. Let's say there's a PT and let's say they're somewhat successful. What I mean by that, in Australia anyway, and I'm pretty sure it'd be the same in the UK, you get a lot of trainers where, they can get quite successful. They can charge $100 an hour, right? And they can fill up their diary with maybe 20, 30 hours of personal training a week. So, they're making $2,000, $3,000 a week. It's not bad. However, they don't really have a life, right? You're sort of up at, 5 a.m. every morning. You sort of work until 9 p.m. every night. You're working on your Saturday mornings. You might get a few hours off in the middle of the day, but is it worth it? And then comes Saturday and you don't want to go out, and then Sunday you just want to sleep. I guess firstly, does that happen over there as well?
Yeah, definitely. I've been there before, what we just call chasing the money, just trying to get in as many hours as you can and burning yourself out eventually. Yeah, I've been there, definitely.
Spot on. Me too. So yeah, let's go with that. So what are the common things you see there, Josh, in trainers in that situation? And then what are your 3 sort of tips on how to overcome that?
So I think that the kind of going back to what you said and I said a minute ago is that it's very easy to get into the trap of more hours, more money, just constantly thinking you can grind or hustle more, whatever, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, because I've been there, there was a point when I was at an LA Fitness and I had 40 to 50 hours a week of PT. And then the back end or the admin side of my business really started to suffer. I wasn't really writing programs or diet plans properly. I was there for that hour, and then that client was gone. And I was like, right, on to the next one. And I just completely forgot about the one before. And I didn't catch up on emails when I said I would. Things just got sloppy, basically. So I think moving forwards from that, if you're a trainer that's relatively busy, the kind of 3 steps that I use with trainers, or the 3 steps that I recommend, would be: number 1, systemize as much as you can. So I'm not a massive believer in things like, you only need to work 2 hours a month and you can make $1 million or whatever. It is doable, but I think personal training needs to be personal. So number 1 is systemize everything you can. So if you've got an email autoresponder, that might save you 20 minutes a day. If you can get something like, there's something called Fit Pro Client Recipes over here, which is like nutrition software, which, is really good. You can automate all your recipe books. You can automate your meal plans. And there's still that element of personal coaching, but it takes off some of that workload. And then step 2 would be scaling your business. So once you've systemized everything, you can step back a little bit and work on your business rather than in your business, which is a massive trap that I got into with my PT business. And then, so with my 2 current businesses, like with PT Toolbox, all I need is my laptop. That's it. I just need my laptop. A video camera would be, preferable, but it's not necessary. And I can work, say 2-3 hours a day and generate X amount of money per month. It's really, really scalable. And that works well around my family, and obviously Southend PT Academy, which is my other business. And then with Southend PT Academy, what we've done is we're looking at opening up 2 or 3 other locations, because the model now is built where we can just hire a tutor, we find a location, and then everything else is systemized. So the syllabus is written, the lessons are written, the plans for the lessons are written, everything is done. And once you put in that initial hard work, that means, like I say, you can step back, you could potentially hire another trainer and they can deliver your sessions, or, however you want to run it. So I think that's probably point number 2, would be scaling. And then number 3, which I really struggled with, was developing a long-term plan of action. So people think a year down the line, but what about, say, 5 years down the line? Where do you want your business to be? How do you want it to run? Are you going to be a trainer in the trenches until you're 65, until you retire? Then what are you going to do? So I think if you can start systemizing and scaling now, then that allows you to build a better long-term plan, with maybe you pulling back on the hours and letting someone else effectively earn you money. That's kind of like my dream world, that's what I love.
Yeah, no, spot on. And I got to agree with you 500% again, Josh. I love those points. Let's summarize them. So the first one was systems. Yes, spot on. And so my background's very heavily in Bootcamp and then on the online side of things. And this is why I love the online world, because you can get that system in place. So say, for example, and let's use Bootcamp as an example. So when I was running Bootcamp, it was $50 a week and you get 5 sessions a week. So pretty good value, but I'd also stack up the online side of things. So, hey, along with for your $50 a week and your 5 sessions, you also get Jono's basic nutrition guidelines. You also get Jono's basic home program. You also get Jono's clean eating recipe ebook. You also get Jono's clean eating smoothie and shake ebook, etc., etc., etc. Right? And that's the same sort of thing where with that sort of stuff, you do it once. It's not individualized, right? It's generic stuff, but that's okay. You do that once. Your personal side of things is the actual boot camp, right? When they come to the boot camp, that's when you're personal. That's when they've got any specific questions about that. You can, help out there. But from that system side of things, and to be honest, it's even just as much a sales tool than anything. Let's say someone's comparing my boot camp, which is $50 a week for 5 sessions, comparing someone else's boot camp, which is $50 a week for 5 sessions. But with Jono's, I also get this, 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 and this. Hey, I'm going to go with Jono's. Even if I don't even use that, I've got it there anyway. All right. So I think that's sort of super, super powerful there. And the other thing on systems with my boot camp, it'd be a 12-week challenge. All right. So I could by the end of it, I could pencil everything in where, all right, here's 12 weeks of workouts. And then here's 12 weeks of little fun things we can do in the Facebook group. In week 2, we're going to do a no sugar challenge. In week 4, we're going to do a walking challenge. Week 6 is bring a friend week. And then your friends can come in for a little 6-week challenge at the end. And week 8 is the accountability week. And week 10, we do a fun run or something. Then week 12, we have a party. Once I sort of had that system in place, it was a walk in the park to run. Because you do 12 weeks, I write all that down. When it comes to the next 12 weeks, I can do that exact same thing again. The clients that have rejoined for the next boot camp, it was 3 months since they did their last no sugar challenge or their last fun run anyway. They don't mind doing it again. And for the newbies, it's awesome. And once I had that system in place, it took so much stress off me, right? I knew what session I was going to do. I knew what game I was going to play. I could plot everything in, and then I could just focus on either A, giving my clients an amazing experience, or B, just doing more sales and marketing, getting more clients in there, So I love that side of things. And then the scaling side of things as well. That's why I love Bootcamp as well, because say with Bootcamp, it's super easy to scale, right? Let's say you've got, you're running 5 sessions a day and you've got 20 clients in there. And you're like, all right, cool. I've got 20 clients and, I want to sort of double my income. I think I need 40 clients in there. You can get another 20 clients in there and you don't need to work another 20 hours, right? Because you've already got that boot camp in place. If it's too busy and you can't run the 40 people in one session or whatever, okay, sweet. Bring another trainer down, pay them $50 for the hour or whatever it may be. And you can still sort of run that there. So you've got that other person sort of working for you there. Or alternatively, as you said, you can get another trainer in for you. So you might say, all right, cool. I've got this boot camp. I've got 20 people running that in that boot camp there. Hey, I might go to the other end of town and start up another boot camp. I'll pay a trainer $50, to run this session here. I'll go and start up another boot camp there. That's we could go all day on that sort of stuff as well. But, it just gives you more options, right? And same thing with PT, Once you've got those, because I think with PT, it's so important to have those systems in structure in place. Otherwise, why is someone going to work under you? You've got to give them more than a lead, right? But if you give them a lead and say, hey, here's the lead, but they also get Jono's this, and this, here's your workouts, here's your structure, it's a bit easy for them, right? And then, yes, spot on with the long-term game as well, especially if you're grinding and hustling, like, all right, hey, you can work 30, 40 hours a week and make some good money, but how long can you do that for? Where's the there's got to be something in there where, am I doing that to make some cash so I invest in my own studio? Or am I doing that to invest in property? Or, am I going to start up a boot camp and then I do all the sales and marketing side of the boot camp and I just hire a trainer to run it? There's got to be some sort of plan there. So I love that side of thing too. Now I want to change. Oh, sorry, go.
Go on. I was just going to say, I think it's so easy to get caught up in the short term, week to week, day to day, grind, if you want to call it that, and just you forget about even the little things or even some of the big things like spending time with your family or going on holiday, that sort of thing. Because you're like, oh, I need to get those hours in, and I've been in that trap massively. So yeah, I think that long term planning. I'd actually probably say there's one more thing I'd like to add to the previous question about PTs, which is don't be afraid to sell to people, because I find so many personal trainers and the word sales is effectively a swear word. I think if you've got a product that you believe in and you think that you can help that person, if your business is built on good ethics and good values, you have nothing to be afraid of when it comes to sales. But yeah, that
Uh,
we can cover that in a bit.
But 100% no, because I'm a huge fan of sales myself. And I guess the reason why I like sales is because I feel like this is my opinion on sales anyway. I want to give, I love, like my passion in life, right, is I like motivating or helping someone to make a decision to improve their life. That's what I love doing,
Yeah.
right? And if I just, have a chat to someone at a barbecue and I motivate them for a couple minutes, but then they don't do anything about it, I feel I've failed, right? But if I can motivate them, and then they sign up for a gym or they sign up for a boot camp or they hire a personal trainer, then I feel good because I feel they've actually taken that extra step, they've taken it serious, and they're going to do something about it. And then me personally, from a sales point of view, like I feel like I want to give them such good value for money that I'm almost, I'm not going to say ripping myself off, but they're getting the better deal. I want to make my service so good that whatever they're paying me, whether it's $50 a week for boot camp, whether it's $120 now for PT, they're getting the better deal because whatever they pay me, I'm going to give them more value, So I think huge. But hey, you mentioned something there, Josh, that I want to bring up. I know you're a big on ethics and morals for personal trainers. And I think that's important because it's such, over here anyway in Australia, it's a little bit unregulated, right? You can almost do whatever you want in the sort of industry. So if you could give us maybe let's give us a couple do's and a couple don'ts. So what are some things that you recommend the big no-nos and PTs shouldn't do? And then some of the things that you recommend they definitely should do to keep their integrity.
So I think probably the biggest one for me is staying on top of their education, because I feel like the fitness industry is so fast moving that by neglecting your education, you're effectively giving your clients a disservice. So if you're giving them out of date advice or advice that maybe isn't as accurate as it could be, then they're effectively paying you money for something. Like, you wouldn't go to a doctor that hadn't done any education for 20 years. If they were still giving you leeches to fix your problems, then you might have a bit of a problem with that. So I think that's number one, is staying on top of your education. That's a problem that I see all the time with personal trainers. And either they're not willing to pay the money or just dedicate the time. Say one day a month, if you go to a free workshop or you go and do a CPD course, you go learn some new stuff, like kettlebells, for example, then you're going to be able to give your clients better service, more value for money, all that sort of stuff. And then I think having values that you truly believe in, like, for example, if you know your product works and you truly value that as a service, then that's going to keep you on track with your clients. So you're effectively not ripping people off. Like, I know personal trainers, there are some local to us that have, as an example, one story, anecdotally, there was a guy who had charged, £1,000 for 12 weeks, but he only turned up for, I think it was like 4 out of the 10 sessions. Every other time he called in sick or whatever. Like, that to me is just ridiculous. And then I think another big one that I see, especially when we talk about scaling and systemizing your business, another kind of negative that I see is people take out the personal aspect of personal training. So they they try and systemize too much, and then they lose that customer focus, and they're all about the money. So because we had a bit of an experience in 2016 where basically we were running the PT courses and someone stole £3 million that was our funding provider. And basically he took the £3 million, and it turns out like about 100 of our students weren't registered with the governing body. So they didn't have any certificates. They had, on paper, they never completed the course. So for us, that could have ruined our business from a cash flow perspective, but also from a reputation perspective. So what we did is we fought really hard over 6 months, and then basically we didn't get all of our money back, but we got every single one of those students certificated. We got them certified. Yeah, which was amazing. And it turns out there were, over the UK, there were about 2,000 people that had been affected, and only our guys were the ones to get their certificates, because we cared enough about them to actually go out there and get the certificates. So, like, I just think having that set of values and those ethical that ethical view will pay off long term for your business. Because the thing is, like, I see a lot of these guys online that say, oh, you can become a 6-figure coach. You can do this, you can do that. And the question I always ask is, how long is that going to last for that trainer? If you don't build it on a solid foundation, then everything's going to crumble eventually, you know? So they're kind of my kind of do's and don'ts around ethics. I'm actually presenting a lecture in March. I think it's March. Let's have a look. Yeah, in March, about kind of building an ethical business, and that's one of my case studies, is our own business where, you know, that guy basically screwed us.
Yeah.
Well,
I love how, because I think in business there's always going to be you know, hiccups and that sort of thing come up, and that's why I love your attitude, Josh. Your quote from the start, which was, it's no one's fault but your own, basically, right? And it would have been so easy for you just to sit back, oh, it's not my fault, this guy did that, this guy did that. Yeah. And then your business could have crumbled because all these guys don't get certificates, and then, you know, they put bad reviews on Google and Facebook, and then, you know, no one wants to go there and train, and then you're gone. But, you know, instead you went the other route and you're like, all right, hey, this happened. What can I do to make sure this doesn't crush me? And you've done it from a place of love, right? Because, I mean, there's goods and bads each way, right? But I feel like the way you've done it is going to be better long term. Like, all right, if you did and you got your money back, but no one got their certificates, is it going to be good long term for your business? Probably not. This way here, okay, you didn't get your money back, but you got all those guys certified. It's going to keep the business running. And I think you're spot on where, like, anyone can make rich, get rich quick, right? Or to an extent, anyone can, you know, sell a 12-week program for a few $1,000 and make it sound like the best thing in the world, right? But if that program is rubbish, you're gone 12 weeks later, right? Whereas if you do it in that ethical sort of way, all right, hey, it might start off slow, but it's that long-term game. And like we've talked all podcast, consistency, you know? There's people that come back to me now a year, 2 years later. Hey, Jono, I've been following you for a couple of years. Hey, we spoke a few years ago. I liked what you did a few years ago, right? That's sort of long-term game, you know? But hey, Josh, I probably should let you go because we're coming up to the time limit here. But I just wanted to finish with like a tactic, because you're obviously a bit of your specialty is helping PTs grow their business. What would be one? So we've spoken a lot strategy-wise, right? You know, the mindset and the strategy, that sort of thing. What about tactic-wise? Let's say now if you had some PT, they've got this mindset, they're ethical, you know, they're furthering themselves, they're there. What's one little tactic they could implement like today to help them go to the next level?
So one of my favorite ones is to effectively build a community around your business and massively over deliver on value without wanting anything back in return. Because obviously once you, like, as an example, if you look at CrossFit, they've made a massive community around their business, and it doesn't matter what happens in CrossFit now, they have those, you know, like zealots, basically. They have those kind of people that CrossFit is a religion to them, and they've built that community aspect really well. A lot of personal trainers, in my opinion, are too scared of giving away information for free because they think people can do it without them. But the quote that I kind of use in a lot of my talks is that information is free and implementation is priceless, because that's what people are going to pay you for. Like the biggest thing I see is personal trainers hold their cards really close to their chest, and they're like, no, I'm not going to give away this because my clients will leave. But the thing is, if you give away loads of value and you help people on a day-to-day basis with your Facebook group, that's the one I recommend anyway. Or it could be a daily email, daily message, WhatsApp, whatever. Yeah. Then when they do really need your help, that's when they'll come to you, because you've helped them in the past, you've given them value, you've over-delivered. And that would be my one. You know, get some sort of closed-in group, be it on Facebook or wherever. Facebook's my preference because everyone's on it. Yep. And then just post every day, give them something they can use, give it daily workouts, recipes, you know, however you can help that person, and don't expect anything back. Exactly. Because as we said earlier, if you give from a place of love, then that's what you're going to, if you don't have any ulterior motives, it'll be authentic and people will start to know, like, and trust you. And then they'll buy from you eventually. You know, that's the plan anyway.
Yeah. No, I once again, love it. 200%. You know, like there's this quote, I think this quote's even from the Bible. Like, I'm not super religious, but I think there's this quote in the Bible, which is like, the key to happiness is to give someone something and not expect something in return. And I just find you live your life so much happier like that. If you're sort of saying, oh, I'll do this for this person, but they better help me out. you're probably going to be disappointed in life, but it's just a better sort of attitude, just to give. And when that person needs the help, they've got two choices. They can either go to someone that's been helping them for years, or they can just Google some random person who they've never met. They're obviously going to go with you. All right. And then in terms of like information, like with Google and YouTube these days, they can probably find out 99% of what we know for free anyway. Right. So the info is not so much the valuable thing these days. It's not like, 20 years ago when it's super hard to get that info. You can probably do one YouTube or Google post and find most of the info you want, but whether you do it or not is the other thing there. So I've sort of got this saying that I use in all sort of things. It probably summarizes what you said there. What I think the key to a successful personal trainer is motivation, support, accountability, and community. Right? I think workouts and results is probably underneath that, right? If you've got a client and you can keep them accountable, you can keep them motivated, you can keep them supported, and you can keep them part of a community, even if they're not getting the results, they're probably going to keep coming back. Chances are if they're doing those things, they're probably going to get the results anyway, right? But I think those four things there, if you can provide those four things there, that's what's going to keep the client happy and committed, right? And that, I think, is more important than the actual workout. They can get the workout on Google for free, right? But if you can provide those four things there, it ensures that they actually do it. So I love how you've summed that up there. Josh, just before we finish up, is there anything I missed? Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I think you've pretty much covered it. I think we've got all the info. I love it. I think the questions were really, really good. I just think with the personal trainers, just to reiterate, really, it's just that just keep going. Basically, like everyone, you've got ownership of this business. Everything that happens in your business is down to you. If something's not going your way, just keep moving forwards, and you will eventually get to where you need to be. Pretty much, that's the only thing I would add. Is that it is difficult at times, but if someone else can be making 30 million a year or whatever, then why can't you?
Spot on.
100%.
Spot on. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Josh, if someone's listening to this and they, want to get in contact with you, they want to look you up, all that sort of stuff, what's the best? I'll put some links below in the box, obviously. But what are the best ways for people to contact you?
So probably the easiest way is on my Facebook page, which is just my personal profile, which is Josh Mullin. So I'm on that probably too much every day.
Hey, sorry, Josh. I think
my website is PT Toolbox.
Sorry, Josh. The Wi-Fi just cut out there on that bit there. Can you say again? Sorry, what were the best places to contact you?
No worries. So my Facebook profile, Josh Mullin, which I spend a bit too much time on, and then also my website, which is www.pttoolbox.co.uk, and that relaunches at the end of February. And then also, if you need to contact me directly, which I'm always happy to answer any questions, it's just josh@pttoolbox.co.uk. So if anyone has any questions or, needs some help or some advice, they can always reach out. I'm happy to help, I've been in their position probably. So fun times.
Awesome. All right, Josh, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to keep in touch with us on social media. I'll put all the links below, but we've got a closed community Facebook group. We all interact on there. We've got a YouTube channel. We put all our videos on there. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review on this podcast, because I'm really working on making it the #1 podcast in this industry in the world.